Today we're pleased to have primetime Brian Lee. He's been in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, ECW, WWF, and he's currently one of the hottest commodities on the independent circuit. First question we ask everybody is how you even got started in this business?
Well, what's your name again? I'm just kidding. Michael. I got started in wrestling, make a long story short, because it's way back. About 14, 15 years ago, I was in Florida, played baseball through high school and college, and grew up with Sawyer Brown, and of course you know the Bruce brothers, Eli and Jacob Blue, our Skull and Eight Ball. We all decided to be wrestlers, so after moving to Nashville, Tennessee, and being with Sawyer Brown for a year on the road, met Jerry Lawler, went through a wrestling school in Florida. The rest is history. Sawyer Brown actually paid for my wrestling school. So.
What'd you do with Sawyer Brown?
Stole a check. Went on the road with him. Actually played security, bodyguard. You know, slept on the bus a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And whose school was it in Florida that you?
Rocky, Montana, and Matsuda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what year are we looking at when you got started?
This was 1986 when I started full time in the business. But between 84 and 85, and that, you know, jumping back and forth in that time, started training. But you know, as you know, if you've interviewed everybody, it takes a long time to get started. You know, a lot of guys say they've been working 20 years, but been working full time, you know, 10 years. So.
Yeah, you know, not a lot of people know about some of the stuff that happened before you started with Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Why don't you talk about?
Well, the beginning of the career.
Sure.
Started out with Jerry Lawler and USWA, which is known as, actually I'm not familiar with what they are called now. It was USWA.
Power Pro.
Is it Power Pro? That's it. Yeah. USWA, and actually how I showed up at the TV was I went into Nashville, Tennessee with 8x10 in the dressing room, handed to Jerry Lawler. Of course, you know they shit can the host when you walk in, new guy. Shit can okay on this?
That's fine.
And so I took my picture, 8x10, had all my bio on the back, and Randy Hales got it mixed up with another guy that they were going to use just as a TV extra. What they did was they called me, but was thinking of him, his face. So I showed up at the TV, you know, blindfolded as hell, not knowing what's going on. They asked me, "Are you going to wrestle?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm Brian Lee." And Randy Hales said, "Wait a minute, you're Brian Lee." Lawler walks in the studio at this time. Says, "You got your gear?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, get it on. You're tagging with Scott Steiner." So, okay, got my stuff on, tagged with Scott Steiner. First TV taping ever of any sort, you know. And I wrestled Cactus Jack and Gary Young. And, of course, they went over and, you know, they whipped my rookie ass. And it took off from there. 3 weeks later, I was a champion. Beat P.Y. Chuhai for the CWA heavyweight title.
How was it traveling around the roads at that time? CWA?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Well, of course, you know, 20-year-old kid out on the roads, you know, you're having a good time, you know, but you can make a good thing out of any situation at 20 years old. You know, you can ball up and sleep in the trunk if you have to. You know what I'm saying, Chris?
Well, talk about your relationship with the Harris brothers or the Bruce brothers.
Very close relationship, like brothers. A lot of us, it's rumored as we're brothers, but we're actually cousins. And just kidding. We're actually cousins, and we've been in the business together from day one. Separated here and there, but you know, it's like anything. You can lose touch, a close, intimate relationship with a friend, but once you establish that, you know, from kids, you know, we're always brothers. Right now they're in WWF, but been together with them since, ECW, USWA, Continental Wrestling, Alabama, Japan, Korea. Somebody's knocking. You gotta let them in. Come on in, Marky Mark. Walk in front of the camera, dumbass. He'll edit this. Brother, I get this 2 hours.
You'll see, it'll go by so quick.
I know, so quick, baby. You don't even know. It's like an AA meeting.
Yeah, how much experience you have with those AA meetings?
Yeah.
So, are there any other memories before we jump into Smoky Mountain Wrestling? Early influences?
Early influences. Didn't know it at the time. I do now. It's like, you know, when you get older, your dad gets smarter every day you get older. You know, Dad knew nothing when you was a kid, but a lot of influences. Phil Hickerson helped me a lot. P.Y. Chuhai, Jerry Lawler, you know. And as far as let me see, memories. I mean, basically what I did was I drove 1,800 miles a week for minimal dollars. You know, barely scraping by. 3, 4 guys to a room, sometimes a bed, and for about 4 years for USWA, non-stop, probably 275, 300 days a year.
Wow.
So it was. I was lucky actually. Today the guys breaking into the business don't have, you know, they don't have territories to go to. You know, when I broke in, you could go to. There was regional territories in every state, so it was a lot easier. You know, but you know, now as we roll forward, crank this motorboat. Let's go. So that's about it. USWA.
Did you follow a lot of wrestling, like before you actually started training? Or?
All my life.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to take me in Jacksonville Coliseum every Thursday night for Florida Championship Wrestling. Actually, my favorite wrestler, as far as when I was in that time as a kid, probably Dusty Rhodes, Kevin Sullivan. Missing link, but as far as when I got up and started wanting to get in business through school and college time, it was Barry Windham. So I tried to pattern my career after his style of work.
Well, jumping ahead to the Smoky Mountain Wrestling days, you made a big impact early. I think, weren't you the first Smoky Mountain Wrestling heavyweight champion?
Actually, yeah. Besides Jim Cornette and Tim Horner, I was the first employee. I was told. Cornette said to me one day in Memphis, he said, if I ever have a territory, I'm going to make you my Sting and my Hogan. So that was the quote, and I thought, you know how people blow smoke up your ass in this business, yeah, right. And that was it. Called me one day, I came down to Knoxville, did the interview, and the rest is history. Took off. Of course, you want to talk about Smoky Mountain, don't you?
Yeah, we're about to talk about it just a little bit.
Okay.
You know, the Brian Lee that you played back then is much different than the Brian Lee that we see now or that you've played since then.
Well, I don't know if you're talking entertainment-wise, the aspect. Yeah, the Brian Lee back then was a lot greener. As far as you know, I never had a chance to get a push like that. You know, I mean, they put you right in the spotlight, put you in, and it was grueling sometimes. You know, it was 10 minutes to get an interview out of me, 1 minute interview. So, as far as Brian Lee, same person, just a lot more experience now. Let's see. I'd say Smoky Mountain. It's when I started coming into my own. You know, when I started finding my character. But what you see is what you get. There's really not a lot of change.
Well, you were probably in your mid-20s when you started carrying the Smoky Mountain Wrestling title, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel there was a lot of pressure at that point? Because there was a lot of veterans around you, too, and you were the...
Well, actually, yeah, I was more comfortable. You know, I mean, there was a lot of pressure at the first year, but after, you know, you're always scared. God, this is, you know, my chance. What if I blow it? You know, but actually, what a lot of guys do is if a territory draws, or if a territory does bad, a lot of guys take credit for the territory doing good, and you know, that's me. Well, if you believe your own hype, you know, if you believe the good, you're going to have to believe the bad, so I kind of took it in stride. I think it's as a whole, you know, wrestling sells. Of course, you got your guys, your marquee players, but wrestling as a whole sells, you know, by itself. If you can get a territory hot, and you can get guys hot on the TV, you know, you can have a whole wrestling card. Like what drew up Smoky Mountain was from bottom to top there was an issue, you know, storyline. So
I think the first big angle that you had that a lot of us will remember for years is the master angle with Kevin Sullivan. You talked about him being one of your early favorites.
Oh yeah.
What are some memories from that particular angle in those days?
I can remember the first time, you know, I heard the angle. I was going to Japan, so I was leaving for a Japan tour, and Kevin Sullivan was coming in, and I only met Kevin Sullivan in passing. I never, you know, got to work him or anything, and remember getting excited about him coming in, like I was going to get to work Kevin Sullivan, one of the favorites, right? And so when I worked him, we had a TV match. Actually, I had a TV match with somebody else. He hit the ring, cut me open for 35 stitches with the spike, put bruises all over me, and I actually was in the hospital for real for about 4 hours, taking fluids because I lost so much blood. Mm-hmm. So that was my first experience with Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think your feud eventually led up to the Singapore Spike match.
Singapore Death. Was it Spike or Death?
I can go back and look.
Okay. No, it was Singapore Spike.
The Singapore.
Yeah.
And then you rolled off that feud and you joined up with Tammy Sitch and became her first.
Tammy joined up with me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and no, but actually that's when it started rocking. Tammy's very good at what she does, you know. And Chris also. Once they put us together in Smoky Mountain, I mean, we definitely had some heat, you know. Definitely a lot of heat.
Did you feel more comfortable playing the role?
As a heel?
Yeah.
Much more.
Yeah.
I'm a natural asshole, just some days better than others. Yeah.
And what about this? I think the first feud you had was with Tracy Smothers, who was.
Oh yeah, Tracy and I were married for what, maybe 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Every night. Tracy's a great guy too. You know, of course, when you're busting each other's ass, it's not too good. Tracy and I split each other up, you know, weekly. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a week hardly that I went by that I was wrestling Tracy. I didn't have stitches in my head somewhere. Something hurt. Same with him. Broke ankle, arm, wrist. Mm-hmm. So.
What did you think about Jim Cornette as a booker? Because at the time, Smoky Mountain Wrestling was probably one of the only successful independents.
Right. Well, you know, Smoky Mountain, they stated that as an independent, but I kind of myself looked at it as a regional territory, you know, as a USWA. Of course, anytime something starts new, they call it independent, you know, but they had the financial backing. They had a lot of potential to go a lot bigger, you know, and kept it regional. As far as what I think about Cornette, I think he's a brilliant mind in the business. He definitely gave me my first shot at it.
Right.
So, you know, I think he doesn't get enough credit actually. So.
Do you blame him for a lot of people say that he just got tired of it and sold out and just took the WWF contract?
Yeah.
Well, gave up a little too early on the.
Depends on what you call sell out. You know, a lot of people say sell out. I don't know if he sold out or not. I don't know if he. A lot of people blame him. A lot of people blame everybody. A lot of people blame the guys for the. You know, it's all a unit. You know, it's got to be. You know, body follows the head. Depends on who was in charge. You know, there's a lot of guys you point the finger at. Mm-hmm. What happened is the territory got so hot, the two bigs started pulling everybody. You know, these guys going here, signing contracts here, WCW, WWF. What happened is he spent 3 years getting these guys hot, and then had to start from scratch. You know,
yeah. So
that hurts it too. So he had a rebuilding process. He kind of like the Bulls right now, you know, rebuilding.
And you had a brief feud with Dirty White Boy.
Yeah.
And then I think you moved right into the tag with Candido.
Yeah. Tony Anthony, another good worker in the business. Mm-hmm. Real good. Actually, Tony and I had some pretty good matches. You know, I guess so.
Yeah.
That's what they tell me. Yeah.
And how about tag teaming with Candido?
What about it?
Well, just some of the memories on that.
A lot of memories. A lot of good times. A lot of. So I travel by myself most of the time in Smoky Mountain. Me and my rock baller. So as far as road time, you know, in Smoky Mountain, I had a couple friends of mine that come on the road with me. But other than that, I travel by myself. So as far as road memories, you know, he was always with Tammy. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed tagging with Chris. You know. Actually, about at that time, Smoky Mountain was doing good, and you know, it's a relief. Everybody's making money. So, you know, sleeping in the car days were over. Starting to make a little bit of money. A little bit of daylight at the end of that tunnel, finally. Yeah.
And at that time, you were also when it was the SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And you worked as the second Undertaker, the Undertaker.
Yeah. She did.
How did you get that arranged? I think you're probably the only person to ever debut in the WWF and headline a pay-per-view.
Right. In the history, wasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Actually, Mark and I are good friends, and they were looking at some wedding pictures. I was in Mark's wedding and looking at some wedding pictures, and there was the resemblance, and dressed me up as the Undertaker, and we went with it from there.
Well, being you were such close friends, were you surprised that you hadn't been able to get a position with the WWF before?
Well, the thing, it's like this. A lot of people, I don't judge my positions on anybody, I mean, just because your friend's Aerosmith doesn't mean you can buy a guitar and go out and sell the Coliseum out,
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm cutting grass or if I'm wrestling in WWF, Mark and I'll always be friends, So we keep our business out of it.
How far back does the friendship go? Where did you meet?
15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, first started the territory. Yeah.
And when you came in as the Undertaker, did you know it was a one-time deal?
Pretty much. I mean, how many Elvis Presleys can there be? You know what I mean? Come on. I mean, there's one Undertaker, one Stone Cold.
Right.
You can't. I mean, you can often duplicate, but you know the rest.
Right. And there was a time period, I guess, going back to the Smoky Mountain Wrestling days. You tagged with Candido, and then you kind of left Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And I think there was some time there before you started with ECW. What did you do during that time period?
Just repeat the question.
Well, the last thing I remember from Smoky Mountain Wrestling is when you were tagging with Candido.
Right.
And then I guess there was like a year and a half there before you started with ECW.
Well, when I left Smoky Mountain, went and did SummerSlam. I had about 6 months off there. I went to Japan a couple times, Korea, Puerto Rico, and actually during that period, I think I took 4 to 6 months off.
Just completely away from it?
Yeah, just a break,
Why did you leave Smoky Mountain Wrestling?
Had a better offer, and I mean, my run was up here. It's time to turn over a new leaf, and I mean, left on good terms. Actually, Cornette, hugged each other on the way out.
Right.
And it's an open door policy too. He always told me I could come back anytime. Of course, it's hard to come back to something that's not here, right?
Well, you talked about going overseas and stuff. What are some of the memories, and how is that different than wrestling in the States?
People take it a lot more. Over there, it's more of a competitive, more than the good guy, bad guy, like they do in the United States. Here, they like a storyline and they like to get behind a guy. Over there, it's more of a competitive sport. Crowd silent. I mean, you can be in Japan and do 10 hurricanranas and 9 moonsaults and not a peep, and raise your hand in the air like this and everybody applauds. So it's a whole different aspect.
Do you prefer one over the other, or?
Nah, I just chalk it up as experience. It's all good,
Yeah.
Chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. You gotta have a scuba beach.
All right. Well, moving right into the ECW days, because I know a lot of people that are watching this tape
You don't
probably.
care if I have a dip, do you?
No, I don't
Okay.
care. I know a lot of people are going to remember you more for the ECW days than anything else that you did.
Why's that?
Well, I just think they had a pretty loyal.
Now I'm
fan
asking
base.
you the question.
Yeah, well, they had a pretty loyal fan base, and Smoky Mountain Wrestling was more regional, I think.
Well, ECW is, I do have a lot of people that comment on ECW, but it was just, I think there again, when ECW first started, it wasn't, they had their cult following of 1,000. And I just, it was by fluke that I stepped in when they started getting hot. I mean, cult started building up a little bit, and I had to feud with Tommy Dreamer.
Well, how did you get into ECW initially? Was there somebody that...
Ron and Don, Paulie Dangerously, of course I knew Paul A. from Mark. And Ron and Don went into ECW, and they were looking for another guy to work with Tommy Dreamer. And Ron and Don called me from up there, put Paul on the phone, they asked me, and I thought, yeah, ECW. And went up there, and it hit off pretty good. I mean, where else in the country could you go, Work one day, make $1,500 and fly home. You know, fly in and out. You're there one day and out. I mean, it was great.
Well, I guess you already answered my next question, how much they paid you, huh?
Yeah, if ECW, it's just like anything else. It's like it's what you make your deal on. You know,
Right.
Paulie took care of me. That's a, you know, you hear a lot of rumors about Paulie, this and that, but he always took care of me.
Yeah.
So you can only judge somebody by what they do to you.
How was it? Was the locker room in ECW any different than some of the other areas you worked?
No, I had lockers and tights and boots. No, it was more of an open, relaxed atmosphere. You know, you got Sandman over in the corner drunk. You got Raven talking to the young kids. You know, you got Tommy Dreamer and Paulie. Actually, it was a pretty fun dressing room for me.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people say that the personalities you see on TV are pretty much what you get behind the scenes too with ECW.
Yeah. Yeah, they're close to it. You know, I think if you come into your own in this business anyway, it's got to be similar. You got to do what you're comfortable with. So you know, you got to be in the realm of comfort to be able to take it out on TV. I think and really be you. You know. Of course, you know there's some guys that aren't.
Well, at the beginning of the ECW, they didn't give you a lot of. You didn't do a lot of interviews because you were with Raven.
Right.
Was that something of your choice? Do you not like giving interviews and stuff? Because I remember you did quite a few back in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling days.
Actually, it was what they had. It was their format. You know, I mean, like I just said earlier, there's chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla, and you know, I don't think Kane's ever spoke a word. One of the top guys, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, interview. I mean, most promoters know what they want to do. I mean, know what they want to do and what they get out of you. And Raven does an excellent interview. You know, so why not fall behind?
Right. Yeah. Is there anything about his? You know, he's kind of a mysterious guy. His character is kind of mysterious. What is he really like outside the ring or in the locker room?
Mysterious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to himself.
Mm-hmm. Very intelligent guy. Well, one of the smartest guys in the business besides Pillman that I ever met. Definitely psychology-wise, he knows what's going on. But, and if you see him, tell him I said hello.
Well, you just brought up Pillman. What are some memories you have of Pillman?
Pillman and I traveled together the week before he died. That was a great loss to the business, a good mind, you know. So he'll be missed a lot in this business. And not only this business, his friendship too, you know. Mm-hmm. It's hard to lose somebody like that you've been around. Pillman, like I said, nobody knew him as far as, I don't know, you know, the fans as far as behind the scenes, but he helped a lot of people as far as, you know, telling them what they need to do and this and that, you know, a great athlete too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that, you know, I don't know what your future holds for you, but at least at this point, I know a lot of people are going to remember you for the feud that you had with Tommy Dreamer and the whole choke slamming through the tables and stuff. How did that get started? I don't think you could have possibly predicted the way it was going to escalate there.
Right. Actually, it shocked me to see somebody fall 20 foot off the top of a concession stand through tables, you know. Yeah. But we went out, and I don't know if it was previously done in ECW or not. I don't know if it was the first choke slam from that high, or I think it was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, I didn't get the ECW TV, so I didn't know. You know, like I said, when I first went to ECW, I was unfamiliar with it, actually. I mean, I knew of it, but never watched the TVs. Yeah, that kind of, I mean, it went from that one night that I choke slammed him, it shocked the world.
Was that something that you talked about maybe doing in a feud, or he just basically when you showed up that night said, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're going to choke slam him off the balcony and through the tables"?
Actually, didn't even really know we were going to do it too much. You know, I mean, it was going to be. You know, I actually didn't even know it was happening. I mean, it happened so quick. You know, I just grabbed him and bam, but it come off good. I mean, he missed a metal rod by the concession stand that was concreted in. What they had was a railing, and the top railings were cut off, and it was a metal post, looked like a fence post, with a duct tape on the top of it, and he, you know, he hit his calf on. Actually, he split his calf muscle, but if it had been over another foot, it probably killed him. You know.
So you're telling me, you're telling everybody that you guys didn't even plan that before it happened?
I'm telling you, I never walked out in that studio and seen anything set up like that. When they were setting the tables up, I was going, okay, here we go. And we kind of ran into that blindfolded. So.
And I think after that, then you moved in, there was a steel cage match where you did the same thing. The chairs were set up. So you choked something off the cage. Is that the next?
No, the next one was the first one was from the concession stand, and you're familiar with ECW
Right.
Arena. The next one was over at the front door,
Okay.
where the Bruise Brothers set up.
And the second one, I guess, was talked about in the match.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, that was the one. And then the cage match was on down the line. That was 10 later, I think. You know, yeah, because I was chokeslaming all semis and parking lots, and you know, different things. So Tommy Dreamer and I had a good run. Yeah.
And then at the end, you had the high incident match. And I guess you had to return the favor for all the times you thrown him off the highest point in the building.
Well, I don't know about returning a favor. I don't know how you break your neck and knock yourself unconscious and return a favor. What I did was, when I fell back, it was that Lipton ST plunge. You know, straight back, blind. You couldn't see where I was going to end up, and caught my back of my head on a table and knocked me unconscious. And I had neck pains and didn't really know what happened. And I had a match with Terry Funk like a week later and took the DDT from him, and then went and had an MRI, and I had a hairline fracture at C2 and 3 in my neck. So that put me out for about 3 months.
Did you have any hesitation? I mean, going into the match? No?
Not at all.
Was it probably the most painful bump you've ever taken?
Really, the bump didn't hurt because it knocked me out, so I didn't, you know, the pain didn't set until the next day. So it actually wasn't that bad once it's done. You know, if you watch it on film.
It looked pretty bad on film.
Yeah.
So
it was about 20 foot, 22. What about it, Chris?
Doing it tonight, right?
Oh yeah. Buddy Landell's gonna choke slam me off the hotel. Yeah.
And you mentioned you had a match with Funk after that. Were you out for any extended period of time?
About 3 months. I was just I did interviews, and I didn't have my neck. It was a compression fracture actually. It wasn't a break, but it put me out for a while. Had trouble breathing, so my neck would swell up. You know. But other than that, Terry Funk. I mean, Terry Funk's brutal matches too.
Right.
You know, everybody out there, and you know, talks about wrestling being fake and being this and that. Well, I invited him to get in the ring with Terry Funk. I've been in easier street fights than with Terry. So.
And you remember the triple threat there. What are your memories of Shane Douglas?
Shane Douglas is another great guy in this business. Another good worker. There again, they formed that triple threat. I was original triple threat, right? Yeah. Or do you know the history?
Well, there was Benoit and Malenko.
Just kidding, bro.
Yeah.
No, it was good. It's, you know, it's like anything. They try to form the triple threat like the Four Horsemen. They try to make the legacy. And they're still carrying that on now. Who's the triple threat now? Candido, Shane, and Tommy Dreamer, isn't it? Or is Candido out of it?
Yeah, I think Candido left it.
You can tell I watch the TV a lot, huh?
Yeah. Well, they air it right here in Tennessee too, don't they?
What, 3 in the morning? I'm usually asleep, so.
You also had a run with Louis Spicoli.
Yeah.
Towards the end.
Yeah. Good old Louis, yeah. There's another tragedy in the business, you know. I got good memories of Louis. He's a good kid. I call him a kid like I'm 60, huh? Louis and I, actually that was the first time I met Louis ECW.
Right.
And he's a good dude, good worker too. He really hadn't matured in the business, you know, before he left us. But He'll always be remembered. Matter of fact, I got an 8x10 picture up in my school, my wrestling academy, of Louis on the wall. So,
You know, what are some of the, what kind of person was Louis like? I know that, you know, the rumors say that, you know, he got in a lot of trouble with ECW because he just wasn't mature enough. Do you think that's what really held him back there?
well, that's all opinion. I guess you're your own worst enemy most of the time, you know. Just young, and Louis, just young and in the business. I mean, he was in the business a while, but like again, I don't think he ever had that tight push to where he was getting TV time, and so it may, you know, it's hard to be 25 years old and you know, get a push like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, it was for Chris Hamlet. You know Chris Hamlet, right?
Who?
Yeah.
So is there any type of jealousy in the ECW locker room? Because
I'm sure there's jealousy in everything. You know, there's jealousy every aspect of life. Sure.
say, did you notice any jealousy? Any different than any other?
I don't really pay attention. I didn't get in all that drama.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure there is. I mean, right offhand, there must not have been that too much because I can't recall. You know, bring up any names or.
Right. Now, when did you know you were going to leave ECW?
When Vince McMahon called me.
What time period was this?
The time period I was off hurt, actually.
Yeah.
And that's where we formed the DOA gimmick, me and Crush and Skull and 8 Ball. Yeah.
So when you turned on Douglas and came out on their first pay-per-view and said that was just rolling off with ECW, there was no plans to actually follow through with that feud?
When I turned on Shane, you mean when I came out as Rick Rude?
Right.
Is that what you... Yeah.
He actually came out as Plata. You know?
I'm glad you remembered that. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was... actually, I was going to go to WWF and see how the gimmick went. And then, so it did pretty good at the beginning and took off pretty good. So the rest is history on that. I mean... like you say, I mean, in anything, you know, if you're playing ball somewhere and the Cincinnati Reds call you to move up to the bigs, you know, you got to go. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't begrudge anybody going and making a better living for themselves. You know, if you're working as a, you know, if you're working as a janitor somewhere and they want to move you up to engineer, you got to go.
It's kind of the same thing back when you were in Smoky Mountain Wrestling and the Big Two were just taking everybody from that group. Kind of the same thing happened with ECW.
Yep. Well, ECW has this big motto about, you know, the wrestling fans chant, "Don't sell out." You know, don't sell out. It's a promotion. You know, you kidding yourself if guys aren't going to leave. You know, I mean, every profession there is, and that's what separates it. That's what professional is, being paid for what you do. I mean, I wouldn't begrudge anybody. There's a lot of people get mad, a lot of people get hot because you leave, but I mean, who's going to feed your family but you? So you have to do that.
Well, it seems like when someone wants to leave ECW, it's a pretty quick thing. Were you under a specific contract, or was it just kind of a per night deal there?
I was on verbal with Paul Lee. You know, he and I communicated all the time as far as there was no sneaking around. I mean, I just was straight up with him and said, you know, WWF's called me, and we shook hands, and we, you know, went from there.
Right. Well, moving on to your start with the WWF. So you going into it, you knew you were going to be a member of DOA and change your name and.
Right. Crush come up with Apocalypse, and I was thinking of the Disciples for the four of us. We had to come up with names, and actually I took my name from Stone Cold. Remember the movie with Brian Bosworth, Stone Cold? Mm-hmm. And took the lead heel guy in that movie was named Chains. He was the leader of the biker gang. So that's actually where I got mine. And,
so you actually the one that came up with the. They talk about imposing the gimmicks when a guy comes there, but you guys.
No, we had our own gimmick coming in. Actually, Mark helped out a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't ever ask you to like shave your head and afford you or
No, it's pretty much it's your own discretion. They pretty much had it. We had free reign with it.
But they let you know up front that you couldn't keep the name Brian Lee.
We never discussed it. I mean, it was, you know, I could have kept Brian Lee probably, but you know, there's more character than anything. So, I mean, they want, you know, it's probably hard to announce this biker in the corner, Brian Lee, you know. So, what's the change gimmick?
So how is it moving from like an independent promotion like ECW into the you know, the big times like the WWF?
Well, it's a different state, different town. You know, big cities every night. A lot more traveling. A lot more money. That's about it. As far as you know, WWF's not bad either. As far as dressing room, it's laid back. You know, it's hard not to be laid back when you're making that kind of money. So, you know, it's a lot of pressure off of you too.
Right. Did you have any good friends in the locker room there?
Yeah, I travel with Stone Cold just about every day.
Oh, yeah.
Him and I travel together. Of course, Ron and Don, like brothers, they're like family. Mark also, but I get along with everybody. Road Dogg, and you know, of course, Badass Billy Gunn. Him and I grew up together. Well, actually, we've known each other since we were like 16. We grew up in Orlando, Ron and Don, all of us.
So you did the DOA for a while, and then kind of just dropped it, and you left the WWF.
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, they started splitting the group up. Crush left first, of course.
Yeah, due to the Bret Hart incident, right?
I don't know if it was due to the Bret Hart incident. I think it was a lot of incidents. Him and they just clashed. I mean, I don't think Crush liked what was happening, and he was asked to be out of his contract. And they released him and started singling me out as far as a single, tagging Ron and Don. So the DOA was kind of dispersing there, you know. And it was I think they built it up more for the Survivor Series, the gang warfare,
right?
You know, and then the Nation of Domination started splitting, and you know, we had a little run with the Barriquas there, and then. You know, it's hard to have an 8-man tag team match every night. So that kind of dispersed too.
So was there a specific instance on why you left the WWF, or was it just your contract?
No, it was well, actually, I was off for about 2 weeks. They started, you know, they wanted to start, like I say, making me a single, and 2 weeks led into a month, and still under contract. And got a call one day, and I called them also, and I, you know, asked them what we were going to do. We either go fish or cut bait. Let me know something. You know, I'm not getting any younger, so so it was a mutual agreement. Let me out of my contract. Right.
Well, you were there during the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels incident.
Sure.
And you know, a lot of people are still wondering whether it's the biggest work of all times, or.
I guess we'll never know.
So you don't have any. If you were to guess, what would your side be?
I would say everybody did what they had to do, I guess, at the time, you know. I mean, I don't know the stipulations and the incident, what happened, what led up to it. Of course, you know, Shawn and Bret been there forever.
Right.
And I don't know what led up to it. You know, Bret stayed to himself a lot. Whatever happened, it was unfortunate, you know, I think, for a relationship like that to come to that end, you know. But this business, it's an unforgiving business. You got to do what you got to do, you know. So let the chips lay where they fall.
Yeah, the sheets reported that Crush left because of the Bret Hart incident. You know, the timing, you know, would have been coincidental as well. Did you notice any change in the locker room? I mean, were the people became more suspicious?
I don't know if they came any more suspicious than they have been. You know, I mean, like I say, you got your groups and your cliques. The guys hang around each other, and it was unfortunate that Bret and Shawn come to that point. I mean, you know, I don't know what happened as far as what led up to it. Like I said, I don't know what the incident happened. You know, there's so many people have their hand in the pot up there, and you saw it on TV as well as I did. What happened? You know, doesn't take an Einstein.
Right.
You know.
So you think that the rumors about the locker room being divided and people siding on one side or another, was that over exaggerated? Do you think that kind of just went on?
Well, you know, the locker room's always been, you know, divided. you know, you always got guys that you hang around with that you gel with more than others. As far as the guys, though, I wouldn't say so. I mean, we're in a business. We're in the wrestling profession. Things happen. You know, there's ups and downs, and you got to take, you know, good with the bad.
Right.
You like the way I steered around on that?
Yeah, I don't think we accomplished anything there.
Did we?
So you cut ties with the WWF, and you've been working on the independent scene
Yeah.
pretty much ever since. How is it going from a person that's traveling 30 days out of the year, or 30 days out of the month, you know, doing those long hours and going to independence?
Right.
Obviously, financially, it's a big difference.
In finance, it's a big difference, but there's also good money in independence, you know, if you can stay booked. I'm booked just about every weekend. I work at my school during the week and training guys, but on the weekend you still get out and, you still get that little taste.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of pressure off of you too.
Pressure off of you?
Yeah, you know, you don't have to perform up to the standard of WWF. You always got to be on in the big show, you know.
Right.
So you know, you get to relax independent circuit. You get to meet a lot of guys that you never met before, you know. And the traveling's not near as it's not near as bad as every morning up at 6 or 7, travel airports all day.
Yeah.
So it's actually a little vacation, a little getaway.
I'm trying to think what my next question was.
Come on now.
Oh yeah, well we just talked about the wrestling school. You want to talk about the wrestling school and give it a little plug?
Yeah, the wrestling school. Opened the wrestling school about 3 months ago, and it's located right outside Nashville. We put a building up there, 3,000 square foot building. Started off slow. We have about 8 or 10 guys now. I get 100 calls a week from around the country. I think this summer it's going to blow up big, you know, because wrestling's so hot you can't hardly miss now.
Yeah.
And I got guys helping me at the school. I have Dutch Mantell, Tracy Smothers. Matter of fact, this weekend, which is March 26th, I have 2 of my students that are just having their first match here in Morristown. So
this is going to be the first 2 students in their first match. Huh?
yeah, sure is my first 2 students and their very first match.
I bet they're bringing a lot of family members from.
Yeah, I think one boy named Mark actually is wrestling named Rage. I think he's got 117 coming from Virginia.
So that promoter's going to be happy.
Right.
Well, what actually inspired you to start a wrestling school? That would lead some people to believe that you're ready to stay on the independents a while instead of going back.
I actually started the wrestling school because I love wrestling. Once you get the taste of that mat, you know, most of the guys that spend in the business, you know, over a period of time. I mean, you know, it's like a college degree. You don't go to college to become a doctor and then decide you want to be a veterinarian. You know, I mean, it's what you know. So, and I've learned this business from some of the best, and so just kind of giving back. You know, and it's a good business to be in. I mean, you know, and there's no schools around. You know, I mean, there's schools around, but as far as the old style school, you know, like that I trained and Mankind and Taker and all the guys that come up, you know, 10, 15 years ago.
So you mentioned that Dutch Mantell and Smithers are helping out. Is this something that this is your school and they're helping out, or
Right,
is this
they
something
they're there on occasion.
Right.
You know, yes, it's solely my school, and you know.
And if a person wanted to maybe inquire about getting started with your school, is there any prerequisites?
Yeah, come with a big heart, and no, it's not going to be overnight. I mean, it's an investment. Like I said, if you need to give me a call, 213-2500, area code 615. We'll bring you in, evaluate you, see if you really want to do it, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. There was, you know, for a very brief stint, going way back to the early 1990s, that you wrestled with the NWA, or I guess it had already been switched over to WCW at that time.
Right.
Can you talk about that?
Flash in the pan.
Yeah.
That was, what was that, Clash of Champions?
Yep.
Jacksonville, Florida. I wrestled Tom Zink. And,
one of your most memorable matches.
right. It's where Tom Zink jumped in that invisible swimming pool, wasn't it? I guess I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Obviously I wasn't, because I didn't come back, right? Yeah, that was the WCW call. Matter of fact, it was a promoter from here, and I can't remember his name offhand. It wasn't a promoter, he helped out Cornette a lot. He gave me a call. He's out of Knoxville and Chattanooga. I can't remember his name. Anyway, they gave me a call and wanted me to come in and wrestle Tom's Inc. You know, the big tryout.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I guess the trial didn't work.
So you didn't have any other dark matches? That was pretty much
it.
One shot deal.
Yeah.
And never heard from him again. Huh?
No, not after that. That was just, you know, somebody to fill in, you know. It could have been Joe Blow, it wouldn't have mattered, I don't think. I think Tom's Inc. would have still jumped in thin air.
Well, I got a question for you. What do you think are your 3 favorite memories of wrestling thus far?
3 favorite?
Yeah, 3 favorites.
I don't know if I have any exact favorites, but of course, going to SummerSlam, my first title belt, I guess. You know, thought I was
What was the first title belt?
CWA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a CWA heavyweight title that I won from P.Y.H. Uhire, Phil Hickerson.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the first memory. My first plateau. Then probably SummerSlam, and then again going back to WWF. You know, like I say, the pinnacle of wrestling is, of course, to be on top in the business. That's what everybody strives for, to be the best. So as far as memories that I have that stand out, but and also coming to Morristown, sitting here doing this interview, this would be a great memory.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Right. You mentioned you traveled around with Stone Cold. What kind of person is he like?
It's what you get. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve's a good guy. Just old country boy.
Do you think you had a favorite promotion out of the ones you've worked with, where you say you've had more fun in one over the other?
I try to have fun everywhere I go. Try to. But you like that answer?
Well, that's a dead-end answer.
Right, sure. Just cut him off.
And did you do that to Chris one time when you wrestled him?
Yeah, cut him off. Brother, I gotta use the restroom. Just keep it going. Wow. Funny story, bad story, what?
Yeah, I was through the time you did that shit with Landale. That was pretty funny. What you told me yesterday.
Okay.
You got it on?
Yeah.
Is it on now?
Yep.
Okay, when the guy I'm wrestling tonight, Buddy Landale, right? Good dude. Buddy and I, of course, Buddy being the veteran he is, just looked good on the interview in the lip.
Can't even see it. He was great lighting.
Oh, yeah. Studio hookup. Is this the backyard promotion? Buddy Landale, we were in Smoky Mountain, and Cornette's, giving me the big push and doing the Bob Cottle one-on-one personal interview. Well, I've had the flu for about 4 or 5. Just a second. Yeah. I had the flu for 4 or 5 days. We're sitting in, what? Is he the director? He's bothering me. How can I tell a story from over here?
Just give him a choke slam.
Right.
Put him away.
We're in the building, and I can't remember what building it was. It was Barberville or more. It may have been Morristown, matter of fact. Sitting there doing an interview. It's one-on-one. It's silent in the building. Cornette's calling for silence all over the building. Nobody talks. Shut up. Don't breathe. Buddy Landale's got a walkie-talkie, and he's sitting down ringside, 2 or 3 rows back, and he's sitting there, and every time they'd say, give the cue to start talking, Buddy Landale, you'd hear, well, Cornette's going ape shit. Cornette's going, who's got the walkie-talkie? So Buddy's not smartening him up. Buddy's got it behind him like this going, every time we try to talk. Well, Cornette says, that's it. Who's got the walkie-talkie? And Buddy goes, okay, brother. It's me, Cornette. Come on, brother. And Cornette says, Buddy, damn it. we're trying to draw some money here. Can't you see we're trying to get this interview? And of course, getting a 10-minute sit-down one-on-one interview with Brian Lee, as you know, is difficult. So we're sitting down trying to get the interview done. Cornette screaming, we're trying to make money, and Buddy Landale says, well, I'll tell you what, brother, the first thing you need to do if you want to try to make money is get that piece of shit out of the ring that can't do an interview. Well, here, see, I snapped, stood up, took the tennis racket, threw it at Buddy Landale. Buddy Landale starts cutting a babyface interview, backpedaling. Whoa, brother, it's me. So he took off and ran out the door. But they had the TV truck outside the door, so when Buddy hit those double doors and he's looking back, running, he smacked the TV truck. And damn near whipped its own ass. So Buddy Landale spins around, and now I catch him, and I grab him by the throat, and he goes to his knees, and he starts cutting the biggest promo ever. He's got a little tear in his eye. And I'm about to punch him, and he's going, you don't hit brother, it's me. It's Buddy. You're not whipping anybody. I can't fight. And, you know, of course, only like Buddy can say, whoa, brother. So I go to hit him, and I couldn't hit him. You know, he's down telling me, but he's begging for his life. And so I turn around, go back in, cut probably one of the best interviews I did in Smoky Mountain because I was pissed off. And Cornette, I mean, we just rattled it on. And Bob Armstrong, the Bullet, comes up to me in the dressing room that night, and he says to me, best interview I've ever heard you do. And I said, thanks, buddy. I mean, thanks, Bullet. And Buddy Landale says, hell, I ought to get him mad more often. Shit, now the kid can do an interview. See, that was mine. You know, Buddy turns around and like that was his strategy. You know, he's stroking himself. And Bob said, yeah, you did bring the best interview out of him that I've ever heard. And then Buddy said, shit, you should have heard my interview outside. So then Buddy and I got right back into it in the shower. He said, you should have heard the interview I cut outside, you know, because, you know, Buddy could turn it on and off. Yeah. And so that was a good memory for Buddy Landale. I've had some run-ins with a lot of guys in the business, Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Lawler, but I mean, it's all at the heat of the moment, you know. It all blows over.
You care to elaborate on any of those?
Well, I was in Dallas with Jerry Lawler one time, and can't remember exactly what he said to me. He told me to have. He asked me, "You need to have some tact, kid, about going about what you're talking about in the dressing room, right?" And we got into it a little bit, and I chased him back to the dressing room and tried to mop him up with the floor, and tried to mop the floor up with him, and of course I got sent home on a plane from Dallas the next morning. And so, kids, your temper is no good. Control your temper.
We'll talk about running the best interview you ever had in Smoky Mountain. It seems like today the interview is one of the most important things about a good wrestling career.
Yeah, you have to have it all. I mean, it's a package now. The interview, yeah, you have to have a good interview, but I believe you come in your own. I don't believe you can. I believe you can practice and learn, but the light just clicks on one day in the interview. Either you have it or you don't. You know.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me. I just came into my own character, as a heel. It's a lot easier for me to be an asshole than go out there and kiss babies, shake hands. So
before the light clicked on for you, did you try to model your interviews after somebody, or did you?
No. I think what everybody does is try to come in this business and form the character. Good guy, bad guy. Smile and wave and as a baby face, and get pissed off and tell somebody shut up as a heel. I guess that's the basic. But like I say, some of my favorite interviews were like Kevin Sullivan, and Robert Fuller was always good. Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was only one.
You ever worked with Ric Flair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I tagged with Ric Flair in Chattanooga. I filled in for Art Anderson for a loop when they come through Tennessee. Tagged with Ric Flair against Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed in Chattanooga, and then in Knoxville and a couple small areas up towards Carolina.
Talk to us a fill-in. Were you working for WCW at that time?
No, actually, they just called. They were in this area within driving distance for me and asked me if I wanted to come tag with Flair, and of course, sure.
Don't have to think twice about that one.
Right.
Well, you mentioned you traveled around with Austin when you were with the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
But if I said if there's any particular story or memory you had of him on the road, anything jump to mind?
There's a lot of memories with Austin. I guess the one time that we were traveling is when we turned the Lincoln Continental into a convertible, and after we ran into a semi. That was a good memory. I don't know if you say good or scary.
I don't remember this one. Talk about this.
Glad you're alive. Steve and I pulled up to a hotel one night, and we'll go back the car out, and it was snowing out, and hit a slick spot, went under a semi and ripped the roof up and knocked the windows out of the car. So instead of turning the car in like that, we went ahead and drove the car to the next town, had a convertible, and turned the car in. I think it was a budget rental car, and told them they owed us 10 grand because we just turned their car into a convertible. So, you know, the price goes up on a convertible. So that was a memorable experience.
Charge that one in advance, huh?
Yeah. About 8 grand.
Oh, yeah.
But I had a lot of good times with Steve. We clicked right off, you know, I mean, a lot of the same upbringing, the same background, and, you know, both played sports, and so we had a good time.
And would you consider the Undertaker one of your best friends in the business?
Yeah. Yeah, him, Ron and Don, Steve, Jim Dotson. Jim Dotson's a security guy now in WWF, the guy that's security around the ring. So, actually I trained him about a year ago. Trained him. I don't know if you remember it, but the USWA, he was my bodyguard manager for a short run, about a 4 or 5 month run there. And yeah, you have very few close friends, but I consider them close. You know, like brothers.
Yeah. What about if there's any story that jumps to mind with Undertaker? You mentioned you were in his wedding party.
Yeah. Mark and I, we were more like family, you know. Like I say, we kept business. We very rarely talked about the business as far as, well, the first 6 years he was up there, you know, just how you doing. And, you know, he was gone so much. And we played phone tag a lot, stayed in touch by phone. But the wedding was good. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. Of course, we were out all night before that, you know, bachelor party. But had a good time.
So, yeah, he was always one of the first people that always had the biggest gimmick in the WWF.
Yeah.
Is that anything like him? Would you know, as a person, is it hard for you to see him on television?
Well, I don't think he sleeps in a coffin at home. And,
Well, yeah, probably not.
No, but it fits his character good. That's the genius of Vince. You know, he takes what he thinks that you can do the best, and I mean, he molds you into that character. And you know, nobody. I mean, look at his run. He's been on top for 8, 9 years, 10 years up there. I mean, one of the best ever in the business. You know, and that's a tribute to him too, because you very rarely find guys that are 6'8" that can, you know, walk in a straight line, much less walk on the top rope. Come on with the questions, dog. You're choking up on me now.
Yeah, I know. So we had some people knowing in advance that we were going to talk with you. They wrote in some questions and stuff, and maybe you could just answer a few.
Come on, brother.
Bring them on.
Hit me with them.
Well,
where's Buddy Landale? We can do a good interview. Let him get me hot.
Someone asked if you had ever wrestled in the same federation as Eddie Gilbert, and if you have
Sure.
any memories.
Eddie Gilbert, I wrestled in USWA with Eddie. I've tagged with Eddie Gilbert. I wrestled with Eddie Gilbert as far as against Eddie Gilbert, and also wrestled for him when he was booking the territory. Eddie always treated me real good. Eddie was a brilliant mind in the business too. As far as memories with him, I remember working his brother Doug, of course, and that was all Eddie's doing. Eddie got me in Puerto Rico, got me booked down there. As far as memories of Eddie, that's a great loss to the business also. You know, I mean, he was a small guy by stature, but as far as mentally and what he had to give to the business, he learned from the best, his father and Jerry Lawler, and so that's a legacy that's passed on, hopefully, to somebody.
When we talked to Buddy Landell, he was, there's a lot of rumors about Eddie Gilbert's drug use, and and maybe that being connected with his death in some fashion. But Buddy had mentioned that he'd never seen any effects or ever seen him use drugs or anything. Did you ever run into him?
I didn't see Eddie use any drugs. I heard rumors. Of course, in entertainment field, there's a lot of drug use. I had my battle with it, ups and downs. Everybody has their demons they got to deal with, but you get out on the road and you get in that hotel room and you're away from your family, and all the hotels and all the arenas look the same all over the world wherever you go. So, I mean, that's the big part of wrestling, is you got to deal with the empty ring afterwards. Jake the Snake and superstar Billy Graham did a video called The Empty Ring, and that's a lot of it. You got to deal with, once the lights shut down and the Coliseum's empty, then you got to go back to your hotel and deal with being on the road. But everybody deals with it in a different way. Everybody has an outlet. I heard the rumor too of Eddie OD'd, but I don't know how true it is. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know. A lot of people, he could have just had heart failure or whatever. I have no idea. But, a lot of people said it was a drug overdose, but I'm not here to say. I wrestle. I'm not a doctor.
Right. Well, you talked about your personal demons with drug use. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'll hit on that briefly. When I got in the business, never even had my first drink. I mean, I didn't drink till I was 25, and went to Puerto Rico, and started socially doing it a little bit, and then a lot of it took over, and you make bad judgments, bad decisions, impaired. That's why you get a DUI. So most of mine, but like I say, I've dealt with those demons, and I've conquered them now. So it's about time for the new Brian Lee, the new and improved.
Another question we had is if you can talk a little bit about your days as part of the stunt stable.
Oh yeah, that's Robert Fuller, another guy I learned from. Robert was needed a tag partner. Him and Jimmy Golden were splitting up, and Robert needed somebody to work 20 minutes in the ring, and so he could do an interview. There again, I fell behind his interview, and I was the machine of the team, and I had a lot of experience and a lot of good times with Robert also. That was one of my good runs there. Of course, when you're tagging with the booker, it's easy.
Do you have any, go back to the Tommy Dreamer angles, do you have any particular matches that stood out? Because, there was a tape that we were talking about off camera that they put out, and
Right.
you went into the streets and you chokeslammed them in trash cans, and of course all the...
My biggest memory with Tommy Dreamer is, actually, I guess that's what everybody harps on, is the choke slam. Just hoping neither one of us died, getting through those, some of those matches and some of those falls. I mean, it's incredible how you walk away from them,
Yeah.
I mean, this is sports entertainment, but a lot of nights I wrestle with Tommy Dreamer, I wish it was more entertainment than it was physical abuse to your body. Probably the most memorable ones when the first time I choke slammed him, and then the next would probably be the scalpel match.
Yeah.
That's the biggest bump that I've ever taken. Of course, a lot of people's ever taken.
Yeah, I would say so.
Chris Hamlet took one like that one time before.
So is that Chris? You got all your plugs off?
Hamrick.
No, Hamlet.
No, it's Hamrick.
I know what your name is.
I know what your name is too.
No, what's my name?
Let me think on that for you.
Uh-huh.
I'll get back with you.
Right.
Tom Zink, right?
Yeah, that's it. Flying Tom Zink. Notorious in the empty swimming pool dive.
More people There's more questions about the your son as the Undertaker than anything else.
Okay.
Is there any other memories you have of that angle? I mean, it was so hyped up.
Right.
Did you talk through the match a lot, or?
No, this is the thing. Anytime you have to fill a role like that, very few guys have to fill a role like that. You know, you go. It's like coming in and saying, "Okay, you're going to be Hulk Hogan this month," you know, or Undertaker or Stone Cold. I mean, it's hard to mimic anybody that's that good, you know, and pulled it off pretty good, I think. You know, but there's only one Undertaker, and that's the reason. You know, the people know who the original Undertaker was. And I mean, anytime you try to mimic anybody's gimmick, you know, they're pretty much go shit on it once they find out. You know.
And did you ever happen to meet Leslie Nielsen? He did all those promos.
Yeah,
for
sure
them.
did.
Yeah.
Met him at SummerSlam. Met a lot of guys. Walter Payton, actually, best running back ever, and Leslie Nielsen. He was kind of quiet behind the scenes, you know. There again, he could turn it on when that red light comes on the camera. But I had a good time.
You fooled a lot of people for a long time, though, didn't you? I mean, until they started bringing Mark back in.
Yeah. Fooled some of the people, you know, your hardcore wrestling fans, I mean, that know. I mean, they knew again it was a gimmick, you know. Actually, I think that was the biggest SummerSlam they ever had, pay-per-view.
Yeah. Well, you were doing Smoky Mountain Wrestling at that same time, and you could noticeably see the change, you know, your hair color and
Right.
stuff. And did they tell you to do anything in getting ready for the role other than just really dye your hair a certain
That's
color?
it. That's about it. And of course, I went out.
Looked like you lost a little bit of a tan too. During that
Yeah, yeah. Kind of lost my plush red cheeks. Yeah, quit tanning and color your hair black and try to mimic the Taker. Like I say, it's a task in mimicking anybody. Even if you're doing it wrong, you know, even if they do something wrong, it's hard to get it right.
Right. So you just stayed some tape on your own and just.
Yeah, well,
showed
you
up?
know, like I say, Mark and I've been friends forever, and I've seen his gimmick
Yeah.
before, you know. So, you know, I practiced for about 2 months. 2 months, but I mean, from the time I heard I was going to do the Undertaker to the time I went to SummerSlam was just a matter of 2 months. You know, I mean, it happened all real quick. So, and my first TV taping, first time I did the Undertaker, it was just less than a month. So, you know, I had like 3 weeks to prepare to be the hottest guy in the business.
No big shoes there.
No, not at all. And it come off good. I mean, a lot of people said, you know, I did a great job, but the thing is, I mean, how can you not do a great job? You dress up like him, he's over more than anybody in the business, you know, and so I just chalk that up as experience, and, you know, I'm lucky that I got the call.
You mentioned working in Puerto Rico, and most people we've talked to in the other interviews have said it's unlike any other place.
Yeah,
You know.
it's one step down from probably Mississippi. It's here in the States. Well, you know, Puerto Rico's a province, of course, but here in the States, when you wrestle, the worst thing you have to worry about is an old lady swinging a purse at you most of the time. Down there, they throw spark plugs, rocks. People's been shot. You know, it's a violent area. You know, and you got 1 million people on a rock down there. So, you know, and it's 90 degrees every day. So, I mean, you know, tempers flare, and they're more, you know, they're more in, like I say, down in that territory, they're more into their heroes and bad guys, and anytime you come over with some pale skin and long blonde hair, you're going to get booed. But I had, you know, many times have been hit, spark plugs, rocks. Had an igloo cooler of one time filled with a block of ice that they dropped from the top of Bayamon Stadium, and it caught my shoulder, barely missed my head, and it killed me. Oh. And flipped our cars over, knocked the windshields out of them, burned them up. So,
what time period were you there? Because you went after the whole Brody incident had kind of.
Yeah, I was in and out of there. There was times where I spent 8 weeks in Puerto Rico, and there was times I just went in for the weekends. You know, I tagged with Tony Anthony. We were called the California Studs, and then I went as a single, just as primetime Brian Lee, and then I went down for Kevin Sullivan when he was booking. Dutch Mantel. I've been to Puerto Rico about 10 times. So it's getting familiar with anything. You know, first time you're thrown into anything, it's a different change. But you get adapted to it, know what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, when you left the WWF, it was around that time. It was probably more while you were there too that they started to change their direction instead of catering towards exclusively kids
Right.
into an older, more mature audience.
Right.
Do you think that they a lot of people talk about a company owing their audience and fans responsibility of certain types of programming? Do you see anything wrong with the type of product that they're running now?
Well, I'll tell you what. Like I say, there's the fans dictate what the product is. I mean, the country loves violence and loves controlled violence. They love boxing, fighting, sex, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, that's what draws people in. I mean, how can you say they're doing something wrong when it's hot as it's ever been? You know, if it's wrong, it's doing something right. Yeah.
All right. So which one are you watching on Monday nights?
Well, I watch football during football season, and matter of fact, I haven't watched the WF tape. Well, I watched the WF taping a couple weeks ago, but mostly I'm usually down at the school. I'm a wrestling school training on Monday nights, but I catch them both. Like I say, if it says wrestling, I can check it out. I don't have a particular federation I watch. I like to see what my friends are doing, what they're doing with them. So other than that, Jerry Springer's pretty good.
Oh yeah, that's good. What are your cousins doing now in wrestling? Because they've been kind of out of the.
I think they're on the back burner right now. I think their contract's up here in a couple of months, and hopefully they'll get renewed. A couple more years.
So they're still under contract.
Yeah, they're under contract till I think May or June, and hopefully they'll get another run.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like. What is it like being under contract and not being used? Is it just a big vacation?
Yeah. Anytime you're under contract with WWF, most of the guys, even if you're getting paid. I mean, and the wrestling business is so hot now. A lot of the guys are making crazy money. So I mean, just depends on you. A lot of guys like it, don't like the pressure. When I was under contract, I mean, I had the same outlook on it. Whether sometimes my own bad judgment, but I was easygoing if I was in a spotlight or if I was on the back burner. So it's the wrestling is. It's up and down. It's like a roller coaster. 1 month you're up, 1 month you're down. So.
Well, being in a position where you're trying to groom new students and stuff, is there any other young talent that you see that's currently on TV that you're impressed with?
Actually, a lot of the young talent coming into the business is it's a different era. 10, 15 years ago, you had to, it was 2 or 3 years before you ever got any type, interview time, any wins on TV. Now I think they just throw them in there. A lot of them are flash in the pan, but then again, a lot of them work. It just depends. It depends on the gimmick. Young talent out there. I'm trying to think. Of course, I watch it so much now. Young talent. Bill Dundee.
Oh yeah, he's young.
Yeah. Gypsy Joe. You heard of Gypsy Joe? No, there's a lot of young talent. I mean, athletes, it's just like in any profession. Football, baseball, basketball, your athletes get better and better, Better vitamins, better nutrition, better weight training. The athletes get bigger and better every year. Why are you smiling?
Oh, I just noticed there was no names thrown out there. Oh, at least no names under 50. So.
Well, Dundee's what, 45?
Oh, is that it?
He has been for about 20 years.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a lot of young talent like WWF. There's I know Rocky Maivia. Of course, you say he's young. He's been in the business a while because he's second generation, but he'll be one of the best. A lot of junior weights in WCW. Kidman, a lot of guys like that, doing pretty good. 10 years ago, a moonsault was, finishing move. Now it's an opening spot. You know, I think when I broke in, a headlock was a finish. Yeah, but a lot of promising talent out there.
You worked for both Jim Cornette and Paul Lee, you know, pretty much in both of those federations' prime. And a lot of people compare the two as being two of the best bookers. Can you see any similarities, differences, or opinions on those guys?
Yeah, they're both out in left field. You know, I hear rumors of Paul Lee and Jim Cornette don't like each other too much, but anytime you got heads clashing like that, two good minds, man, they probably are the best bookers. I don't think you've seen the best of Paul Lee and Cornette yet, you know. And what the best consists of to me is being able to change with the time, you know. What you did in 1970 is not going to work in 90s, and what you do in the 90s is not going to work in, you know, millennium. You know, you got to change, and I think that any great booker, great mind has to change with the time, and that's what they do. They adapt. They adapt to what's going on.
Currently, Chris Candido and Tammy are kind of out of the picture there for, you know, rumors saying a lot of personal demons that she's combating and stuff. What were your memories of working with her? Because you worked with her, I think, both the WWF and in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling days.
Like I say, Tammy and I, as far as a relationship outside the business, I don't know exactly what demon she's facing, but like I said, everybody has their own. Actually, I don't know I haven't talked to her, Chris, in about 3 months, so I don't even actually know what's going on with them now. I hear they're out of the business, working on their relationship. You know, Tammy's had clashes with everybody in the business, Sable and Luna. You know, so like there again, you know, people step on other people's toes, and bringing up the fact of jealousy, I'd say there's some jealousy, you know, runs back and forth. And it's kind of hard when you break into business and your girl gets a bigger push than you, I guess, you know. I guess, you know, people have to deal with their own demon. But I'm sure you'll see them back in the spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're good at what they do, so you can't deny talent.
You can't. And I don't know how much you can talk about your perspectives elsewhere, but you planning on doing the independents for a long time? Or are you looking to sign a big deal with somebody?
I'm talking to WCW now. Like I said, my wrestling school is top on the list priority to get that going. And in any business, it takes 6 months to a year to even get established, and I've only done it in 3 months now, so, you know, hopefully that'll take off, and that's just something to fall back on once I leave the sport as far as in active sport. But you haven't seen the best of Brian Lee yet.
Is there any chance you'd go back to the WWF? I don't know if we talked about if you left on good terms or the bad.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we left on mutual agreement. If everything's right, everything pans out, you know, WWF or WCW, you know, it really doesn't as far as matter. I mean, whatever's going to work for you and them the best. If you can come to a mutual agreement, that's the one I'll go to. Doors open for both.
Yeah. And I guess the same applies with ECW. You could probably make a phone call and get a spot.
Yeah, matter of fact, they a couple months ago they had the pay-per-view in New Orleans, and they asked me to come in and tag with Tommy Dreamer. And I was
a mystery partner.
Yeah, I was already previously booked, so I think they used.
Chip Robbins.
Yep. But I think I was the first guy they called to come in. Called me on a Wednesday, and the show was on a Saturday, and I was already previously booked. You know, it's hard to 3 days cancel everything you have.
Yeah.
But you may see me pop up in ECW here pretty soon. Just depends. Like I say.
Show you the money, huh?
That's it.
Well, now that you're doing independents, do you see a big difference between the southern style independents, like here in Tennessee, and then when you go to a place like New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, you know, up north, you know, I believe you could pull a 38 out of your pocket and blow somebody's head off, and you know they'd scream fake. You know, up north, down south, I mean, there's a lot more. You know, you have to. Down south, it's the people are more in touch as far as, like I say, they like to build a relationship with the wrestler. They get behind it, a following. And up north, I think it's more hardcore. You know, But then again, I may be wrong. The fans in the South like hardcore too. But the South, they had a lot more regional territories. And you know, you had Florida, Georgia, you know, Texas, and the South was more of a family oriented, I think, too. And but we know how that's going now.
Yeah. Does it bother you when you'll see like pieces, mainstream media pieces, criticize wrestling and talk about it being a joke? And
Well, I mean, I think it's proven itself. I mean, wrestling's on the forefront now. I mean, it has blown up so big. It doesn't bother me. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody has opinions of what, you know, wrestling should be and what it's doing and where they're going wrong and what they're doing right. But like I said earlier, they must be doing something right. It's hotter than it's ever been. Criticize me. It bothers me when people talk about wrestling being fake. You know, wrestling being, you know, that's all fake and this and that. Anytime, you know, you've had broken bones and surgeries and, you know, plastic surgery, and I mean, to me, it's fake is what you put into it. Everybody knows Rambo didn't, you know, kill Vietnam himself, and so it's a man's soap opera. I mean, it's good storylines and it's entertainment at its best, but it's physical entertainment. And anytime you get on the road and you're out there 30 days and you're in the airports and traveling 2,000 miles driving a week and then having to wrestle every night, and when that camera turns on, I mean, I think it's one of the hardest professions there is. You know, football and baseball, football they play once a week and they're padded up. You know, we're running into brick walls every night. So, I mean, you have some of your best athletes in the world in business. So, I don't think it gets enough credit there to being athletes. You know?
I was going to ask you, was there any, were you ever drug tested in the WWF, like randomly drug tested?
Not much. When I went up to do the Undertaker gimmick, they drug tested, and it was a random drug test, but I don't think they're drug tested now. I didn't get any as far as when I was doing the DOA gimmick. Yeah.
So there's not a real big fear among wrestlers that they can walk in and be drug tested at any particular point?
No, and you know, the thing is, with the athletes today, there's really no time as far as to do. I mean, that's your own personal discretion. All you're going to do is hurt yourself, you know. I mean, I think it depends on the time and what's going on, you know, depending on if the media's on you or, you know. I think drug testing would probably be good. It benefits everybody, you know. It keeps it on the straight and narrow. Why, you want me to drug test now?
Yeah, I got a Dixie cup for you.
Okay.
You could, just put it on camera. Appreciate it. Well, other than joining your wrestling school, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that wanted to get into the business right now?
Don't. No. It's a slow process. You need to come into business open-minded, and you need to. The thing is, a lot of people want to live a dream, and it has been a dream for me. It's a dream come true. You know, I always wanted to wrestle. So what I advise people is come in open-minded. You know, you have to have family support. You're not going to. A lot of people aren't going to break into business and get rich. You know, you got to pay your dues, and I just say just keep on struggling, brother.
Does it bother you at all when you see someone that hasn't paid their dues just break in?
No. I mean, used to way back. That was what you had to do, was pay your dues. It doesn't bother me to see anybody get ahead. I mean, you know, it's hard enough to be a man, much less try to make a living too. You know, so God bless them if they can do it.
You were working for Smoky Mountain Wrestling at the time. They had the Wise riot, and they made a big deal about it in the sheets and stuff. And
Right.
Jim Cornette downplayed it. What are your memories of that incident?
My memories, actually, Cornette was managing Ron and Don, the Bruise Brothers, and we were in a prominently black college, and Cornette's at ringside, and I believe some guy spit on Cornette. I don't know the exact situation. The what I remember most is when me, Ron, and Don and Cornette were fighting 2,000 college students trying to break down the dressing room door. But how it started was Cornette, I believe, used the N-word, and so that didn't go over too well. And started rioting. Football players, everything. The college, I mean, they canceled the show because it just, it got way out of hand. Between chairs and Ron and Don and myself and holding people back, and Cornette swinging, knocking people out with a tennis racket, and police coming. I believe they went to court over that. I wasn't one of them because I put on Bob Armstrong's mask and was hitting guys with chairs. But actually, that could have been a real hairy situation. Cornette said something that probably shouldn't have been said at the time, and the guy snapped, which everybody wants to fight a wrestler anyway. When everybody wants to make a name for themselves, and so they started rioting, and Ron and Don chasing guys around the building with chairs, and or not chasing, defending themselves. Actually, I mean, they kept coming, and it was like 4th down and 2. And that football team was going to make that first down. And so we took our wrestling gear and didn't shower and didn't get paid and loaded up and hauled ass out of the town. But that was one of the riot memories of Cornette. Cornette snapped a lot, though. I've seen Cornette beat up camera crews. He was definitely a perfectionist. If it didn't go right, he would snap. And then again, that's what makes somebody good, he loves his business and he wants everything perfect. But other than that, as far as riots, that's the most memorable one in Smoky Mountain. Been a lot of matches where the fans have hit the ring, back in Continental. And matter of fact, we had one riot in Continental where Wendell Cooley invited a kid from a high school football team in the ring. They were throwing pennies at him, and Wildcat Wendell Cooley, you remember him.
Yep.
And he invited the guy in the ring, but needless to say, we didn't know that 100 guys were going to hit the ring at once. All you could see was Wendell's boots sticking up, pile on top of him, and so they screamed for us to come out of the dressing room, and we hit the ring, and I think Donnie broke his hand, and we were in the ring, and guys are just flooding in the ring, so I'm starting to punch and get guys out of the way, and turn around, this guy comes up to the ring and I didn't see him, and when I turned around I hit him and he knocked him out, and he fell face down. Well, when he fell face down, the back of his shirt said sheriff. So I think that's time to pack it in and haul ass.
I can't believe we're sitting here struggling for stories and you had that one.
Yeah, so when I saw sheriff on the back of the shirt, I figured, boys, we may better hit the road. And so we're all throwing our stuff in the cars, and Robert Fuller's pulling his hair out, screaming, "Dear God, have mercy! They're going to kill us! They're going to kill us, poo-poo!" So we all piled in the cars and we started hauling ass, and here comes the whole town behind us, and trucks, rebel flags, And so we had about a 15-mile chase to the border, and lights on us, everything. They radioed ahead. And, actually, nothing came out of that. I don't think I'm allowed back in Decatur, Alabama, but
That outstanding warrant, huh?
Yeah.
Well, most other promotions, they say stay inside the guardrail or something. When you were having your matches with Tommy Dreamer, you went out there all the time. What was the policy? Did they ever give you instructions on if someone got, between the two of you when you were split out in the crowd?
No, most of the time, most of the fans know not to get in between it because, but then again, you have your drunk Otis out in the crowd, some asshole that wants to jump in and become a star, and if they get inside the guardrail, usually you're in their domain. If you're at ringside, you take your chances. It's hit and miss in the crowd, but there's been a bunch of occasions where guys try to hit the ring, and once they come in that guardrail, that's your house.
Yeah.
So if they don't wipe their feet at the front door, you have to chunk them. But what else can we hit on?
Give me one more big story. You got to have something in those 14 years.
How about Robert Fuller trapped in the hotel room? One night, Robert Fuller and Sylvia were in Pensacola and Panama City, and Robert Fuller and Sylvia have one of their little spats on the road, and Robert Fuller's real claustrophobic, and of course Sylvia left the hotel room. We heard this big crash, and she slammed the door and she bent the frame. She jammed the door frame. Well, Robert Fuller is screaming, "Dear God, have mercy, let me out, I'm claustrophobic." Well, Robert Fuller's against the hotel window and he's sweating profusely. I mean, it looks like a tropical rainforest. And he's screaming, "Please get me out of the hotel, I can't breathe." And he's pulling his shirt off and he's pulling his pants off and he's standing in his underwear. And I mean, just screaming to the top of his lungs. He woke everybody up in the hotel. You know, he's screaming, beating on the windows, and he sticks his face against the window and he starts sliding down. He starts sliding down the window and he's kicking the walls and he's saying, "Dear God, have mercy, I need an ambulance." So we go, the security comes down and there's no way to get Robert out of the room now. He's panicked. He's freaking out. And so what they had to do, they took the air conditioning unit out. They broke the air conditioning unit out of the wall, and when they was pulling Robert's big ass through there, you know, Robert was about 280 at the time. When they was pulling him through there, they got him stuck. So Robert Fuller got stuck in the air conditioning unit. So they got him by his feet, and he's holding on to the bed, pushing, screaming, and I'm pissing in my pants, laughing. And so I got Robert Fuller by the foot, and Jimmy Golden's got him by the other foot, and we're trying to pull him out. And he got stuck for about an hour. They had to call in the rescue squad, and they had to cut him out. The jaws of life. It's the first time I ever seen a man have a car wreck in a hotel with no car. So, of course, they had the airbags go off and that protected him. But he was stuck in there for about an hour. And needless to say, we all had to pack our shit and get out of the hotel. We weren't allowed back there. But it's kind of, I think that made the newspapers. Professional wrestler gets called an air conditioner. But that was a funny time with Robert Fuller. And that's all, folks.
Well, can I ask you just to list down the list of injuries that you've had since you started?
Okay, here we go. On my medical chart, 600 stitches just in my head. I've had ankle surgery, had my shoulder scoped, I've had plastic surgery on my eyebrow, broken nose, pulled bicep, torn groin, broke neck, 4 or 5 concussions, can't really remember. That's about it. You know, average broke bone about every 2 years. So, you know, this fake wrestling business, you know, this fake wrestling business can have you in traction. But luckily, you know, knock on wood, I haven't been injured like a lot of guys, but that has to do with your conditioning, you know, and how you keep yourself in shape as far as conditioning. But there are a lot of injuries, I mean, daily guys getting hurt in this business. I've blown both knees. In Louisville one night, I lost a match and I jumped off the top rope into the ring, you know, having a temper tantrum, and I blew both my knees backwards, hyperextended them. I mean, they folded backwards, both my knees in the ring. And I'm laying there screaming, and you know, you got the fans on the front row, "That's fake, get up!" And my legs are bent this way. So there's been some injuries in this business. Hopefully we won't be that drastic. You know, hopefully I don't have another scaffold match for another 10 years. But you do get injuries. And the thing in this business, a minor injury, you know, you get a pull or, you know, a torn muscle or something, you know, or dislocated, or, you know, ACLs in your knees. What happens is, you know, you're like the old horse, you know, you got to get back. You know, this business, like I say, you wrestle every night. There again, at football, you have trainers and guys, you know, to condition yourself. You're basically your own trainer. It's up to you to take care and maintenance your body. So that's the difference in this business and another professional athlete. So it's pretty much up to yourself.
Was there anything else that you might want to say in closing to people that are seeing the tape? Or?
Yeah, remember to tip your bartenders, your waitresses.